Hey everyone, welcome to House Call. I'm Dr. Rueben Brock. I'm here with Danny Miller. And so Biden has done a lot in the first couple of weeks of his presidency. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I saw him do, I think he reversed one of Trump's executive orders. So he reversed a ban on transgender people in the military. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, I have no idea why you would bother to ban transgender people in the military. I don't see the point in that, but that's just me. But every time something about transgender people comes up in the news, it makes me think like, I don't understand. People don't understand fully. You know what I mean? Like, at least that's what I feel like. And you and I had a conversation about it the other day. So we wanted to have a conversation, and I'm not going to sit around and talk about something like that and let it be my voice. Right. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense. So we actually have a guest today here with us to have this conversation. Is actually somebody who is near and dear to my heart. It's my cousin, James. And so first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. And before we go anywhere, let me first say, I was a little bit leery about having this conversation because I don't like the idea of feeling like I'm saying, all right, here we got the representative from the, you know what I mean? The trans delegation. Because people love calling me to be the black delegation representative. And I don't want to do that. So this is me telling you, if I ask a question that's a dumb question, feel free to be like, yo, that's whack. You know what I mean? Like for real. I mean that because I'm good at saying the wrong thing. Right. And so that's actually part of what I wanted to do, is have this conversation, because I feel like people get it wrong. Some people get it wrong because they're dumb, but some people get it wrong because they don't know. And my hope would be that through this conversation, maybe we teach some people some stuff. You know what I mean? I would hope that we can bring some understanding about what's the right way to be supportive of a person who this is their experience, right? So that's my goal anyway. If that's a good goal, then cool. If it's a bad goal, please tell me. We'll turn the cameras on. You know what I mean? Yeah, right. But does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of times, you know, people are just, you know, given false information, or they're undereducated about, you know, the LGBTQ community in general, specifically transgender. And that's why a lot of these, you know, issues and concerns arise. Yeah. I think that this is a great idea to try and get some of that out there from, you know, someone like me that lives it and has lived it, you know, so.
Okay, cool. So thank you. So first let's kind of maybe go to the beginning. When did you start to recognize or feel like, hey, something ain't right here? I'm not, because I mean, I've known you my whole life. I've known you your whole life because I'm older than you, but you know, we are cousins, so we've been at family gatherings, and you know, and so I've known you for a very long time, and I know when I first came to realize that you were now presenting differently than you were, but I want to know from you, like, when did it start for you?
For me, when I knew that I was essentially born in the wrong body, for me, I want to say I was about 5.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't think that, like, you can be that young and develop like a concept like that. But, you know, that's when I realized, you know, when I looked in the mirror and was like, you know, I don't have the right body parts. You know, what I feel, what I think, and what I see in the mirror, like, doesn't match up with who I feel like I am, you know?
And so age 5, you're starting to realize that. And you're right. That's a heavy concept for a 5-year-old. So I'm guessing that at age 5, it was pretty confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, I didn't quite understand. I just didn't understand why I couldn't do the things that my friends did. Like a lot of my friends were boys. I didn't play with girls. I didn't play with Barbies. Like, me and my younger sister, we shared a room. And if you would have came into that room, you would have thought that it was, shared by a boy and a girl. I had action figures and, boy clothes and all, like, thank God that, like, my mom thought it was just like a tomboy phase and let me express myself. But
okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah.
So in other words, for your mom, it was like, she's just kind of in this boy phase.
Yep.
That would have been the view. But you knew this ain't a phase.
Yeah. Deep in my soul, I felt it. Like, she used to have to fight with me to, like, get me to wear dresses and like girly clothes with the furls and all that. Like, she would have to fight with me to do my hair. I can remember, like, this one time, my Uncle Russ was watching me, and I, like, snuck behind the couch and cut off all my bangs. Because I didn't understand.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah. I wanted short hair so bad.
Yeah.
She was so mad.
Yeah. You come home, and because for moms, I feel like the daughter is on a lot. It's like, I mean, at least for Dara, having baby Ella, it's like having a Barbie doll. It's like, you dress them and you do all the girl stuff with them. But that wasn't your bag. You were like, I'm not into that. I'm trying to do boy stuff. And I will say, because I have a lot of photos from when we were young, because I've always been into, like, documenting things and taking pictures and stuff. So I have photos of you and your sister and like I have a photo from, we had a family reunion out at the park, and now when I look at that photo, I'm like, oh snap, like, this was always a thing, because
we need to rewind and figure out who James was before.
Yeah. But so here's my question, because this is a logistical question. When I'm referring to you now, I know to say he. But if I'm referring to the you of my childhood, that person was a girl, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is appropriate? So if I'm telling a story about you from childhood, what is the appropriate pronoun?
So, a lot of people get, real sensitive around the pronouns and everything. How I tend to look at it is, I was fortunate to have two lives.
Yeah. Wow.
And so talking about my past, like, I was identifying at that time as a female. You know what I mean? And that's what I was known as. And that's fine to address me in my past as, she and her.
Yeah.
And, but, like, now it's, definitely
it's
like him. And,
But as you kind of indicated, there are people for whom that is offensive, right?
Yeah, there are. Because some people like to go, what we say, like, incognito or whatever. Yeah. And they don't ever want to have anyone know that they were born a female.
Ah, got you. I understand what you're saying. So if you see what I'm saying? So if I'm talking about her, if I'm talking about you in the past, I'm essentially on some level outing you, right? Because your life today is a life of a male, and there might be people in your life that don't even know that there was that other life.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay. But you're saying that's not a thing for you.
No, it's not. No.
Okay. Cause I tell you what, I saw on Facebook that you did the then and now challenge. I was like, well, he won. You know what I mean? Like,
what did he
do? He has a picture of his childhood, and so it's a little girl with, like, pigtails, and then he got him now with the beard and the whole bit. I'm like, can't nobody beat that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ain't gonna change that much. You got this.
That's funny.
I was like, yeah, he won.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So I have photos of us in our childhood, and I could even see now, looking back, I can see how boyish you dressed and stuff like that. And back then, yeah, I probably would have been in the category of like, oh, she's just a tomboy. That probably would have been, I don't know, because I can't remember, but that I feel like that's probably what I thought. But you knew even back then. And so at some point, I would imagine you have to start thinking about like, is this really about to happen? Am I really gonna like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You tell me, like, what's the thought process?
It's a lot to like take in. You know what I mean? A lot of times I was really frustrated because I couldn't do the things that, my friends were doing. Like, I wanted to play football.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, no.
Right.
But he let me play flag football. You know what I mean? And it was a team full of boys anyway. So he compromised, and it was the greatest time. And then, like when I played basketball, I was pissed because I was on a girls' team, and I was like, this, it was like all this pent up frustration that I would get, because, especially around like the age when puberty hits, like, 11 and 12.
Yeah.
Like, it was confusing because it's like, I feel like a boy mixed with all these girls, and it's uncomfortable. And it's like, I feel like I shouldn't be here.
Oh, wow. So it's a feeling of not belonging in the space that you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said when you do something like flag football, now all of a sudden you're in a moment that feels good for you.
Yeah. It was euphoric. It was, me being able to be me.
Yeah.
And then like we would have practice, and like I would see some of the guys like go to the bathroom in the woods, and I couldn't do that, and I was kind
of you trying to do the boy stuff.
Yeah. And I was like, damn it.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So then at what point did you make a decision? Like, I'm no longer willing to live a life that is incongruent. I'm no longer willing to be this girl because that doesn't fit me.
I didn't actually come to make that decision until, I want to say 2015.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It took a minute for you to get there.
It took a long while for me to accept me for me.
Yeah.
Because based off of what society portrays, and, trying to be, a chameleon and fit in, I was afraid. I was already different. And then to come out, as a transgender individual, like that was just like not going to happen.
Yeah. And I would imagine there's some fear associated with it, with respect to like how are family members gonna respond, like stuff like that. So talk to me about that. Like, I mean, and understand I'm one of the family members, so feel free to be like, yeah, you were a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, because you have no idea. I think about this stuff all the time. I really, really do, because I want to get it right. Okay. I want to be kind to people. I want to be loving, but I don't necessarily always understand what the loving thing is. So here's me just trying to do it right, but realizing that sometimes I'm dropping the ball. Right. So you tell me, what was it like, thinking about family receiving you and stuff like that?
Well, I remember, so I want to say I was about 12. when I finally accepted that I was like, okay, I like girls.
Okay.
Don't like guys. I like girls. Yeah. I can do this,
that was easy enough.
This was a little easier. Coming out to the family, not so much. Okay. To my family, first off, it happened all types of wrong. My sister, because this is back when we still had like landlines, like that's not a thing anymore. So, when you got siblings, they like to pick up the other phone and like listen in on your conversations. And my sister caught me talking to like this girl, in a romantic way, and she like told my mom, and my mom didn't take it as bad, and then I got some backup from my older sister, who was like, I've experimented with girls in the past, and it is, I always knew that you were gonna end up liking girls, like she knew.
Okay.
But coming out to my dad's side of the family, you guys,
right? That's my people. Here we go.
Yeah,
doing it all the way wrong.
So I was okay with it. The only person that was intimidating was grandma.
Of course. The whole time I'm thinking about it's grandma. It's got to be grandma. We have a grandma who's like an iron fist type grandma.
Yeah, she's old school,
very
old
much.
Traditions. And, she was raised in the church, and she raised us in the church,
Yeah.
And, so that I was like, I don't know how this is going to be. So I never really came out and told grandma.
Okay.
But we kind of just had this unspoken acknowledgement that like, okay, this is what it is. This is her friend. You know what I mean? Like if I would
got you. Yes. So it was like we both know what's happening here, but we ain't about to talk about it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. And what does that feel like for you? Is it like that's good enough, I'll take it, or is it like, man, I can't even just be myself?
It was on the fence. It was like, okay, I'll take it, but it still kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because I still can't be like free and have like open conversations and, but it was still like, she wasn't rude or disrespectful or mean, and she was still loving and caring and still grandma. And, I was dating this one lady for a while that had a kid, and, she accepted the kid as her own, and her grandma, she's grandma to everybody. And
yeah.
And it was, it was good, but we still didn't really talk about it.
Right. It wasn't discussed.
Right.
Okay. And was there a point where you said, that's it, everybody gonna have to deal with this, this is what it is now?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say once I was legally an adult, like 17, 18,
okay,
is when I was like, this is what it is. This is what it's going to be. Like, I can live my life how I want to, and no one can tell me any different. And growing up, let me tell you, like, it wasn't, as idolized as it is in the media today, being a lesbian. I got into a lot of fights. It was a lot, I got discriminated against a lot. There were like nights that I would cry, and, and it was a lot. One, being a lesbian, two, being black,
right.
So I was like, I'm already like 2 strikes. To add the transgender part, it was just like, I'm not doing it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Because there's a lot of strikes in that scenario already. So you're like, I don't need anything more going against me.
Exactly.
Wow, that's heavy. Mm-hmm. And to have to think like that, I just got to hold on to this one because I already got too many cards on the table that are problematic cards, right?
Right.
I actually think about that sometimes because, being a black male, particularly with dark skin, I'm like, there are people who are just afraid of me right off the bat for no good reason other than my skin is dark. But I've often thought, but I'm being a male, it's only so many people who are really going to come at me because I'm still a dude. You know what I mean? We'll just scrap. If it's really that big of a deal, we'll just scrap.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I could understand in your situation being like, I'm not really doing this because there are situations where you're unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
There are situations where if you're in the right place or maybe the wrong place, it's like, I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know what if it pops off? And do I really want to have to deal with all that? I mean, yeah. I would imagine that goes in because I've had women tell me that you don't understand what it's like to have to think about safety at all times. So I can imagine for you what that would be like.
Absolutely. It was crazy. I mean, I dated this one girl from Houston, and she was, I think, like 5 or 6 years older than me. So one, like, I was way young. Two, her parents were racist.
Which is problematic.
Oh yeah, it was huge. And then they like, you know, when she came out and told them that, like, you know, she was dating a girl and that she was a black girl, it was like, oh, all hell broke loose. And it was just, it was insane.
I got a question. If I step out of bounds, just let me know. Was there a surgery?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so
but hold on, I want to say that's probably an insensitive question. You can't just be out walking around asking people like, "Hey, let me ask you this question: have you had surgery? Like, what's your genitalia like?" You know, like, you can't do that, right?
I mean, that's why I said if I step out of bounds, let me know. Is that an insensitive question?
I can't.
Is
really
that like
hear
walking
Danny.
up to?
Oh, so Danny asked, "Is that an insensitive question?"
No. I'm an open book, you know, because I feel like, you know, people need to hear, you know, what it's like, what it is, because there's some people that were in a position that I was in before I was able to come out and truly be me, and they need to hear. You know what I mean? But
am I right to say not everybody's going to want to answer that question?
Yeah, no.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I hope you get punched in the mouth. This is what I hope.
But hold on. Are we trying to have an open dialogue here so that people don't ask the wrong question in demeaning kinds of ways, right?
All right. That's fair. Go ahead. So go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear Danny?
No, I can't hear him.
I don't know why your audio is not good. What is your question?
Go ahead. I'm gonna see if I can fix it. You keep on going.
So I think what Danny's getting at is a question that I've also had, and maybe it's a question that doesn't matter, but I think about this sometimes. Like, all right, so you are married to a woman, right? You identify as a man. That makes you, but does that makes you straight, right?
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to ask. Can you hear me now?
No, can't nobody hear you. But that it becomes confusing, right? It becomes like this really circular thing to think about. Like, all right, well, what does that mean? Plus, also, let me say, I feel like there's a lot of letters in the whole LGBT. I don't even know what some of this stuff means. LGBTQT, and then there's like a plus sign.
Yeah.
What does plus mean?
There's
The plus is for the allies. So for people who aren't.
Oh, so I could be a plus?
Yeah, you could be a plus.
I'm up in there.
You're a plus?
I'm in there.
Always me.
I'm definitely, well, hold on. I can't get to decide for myself that I'm an ally. Somebody got to tell me that I'm an ally, right? But I'm trying to be, right now, this is me actively being an ally. I'm attempting to bring awareness and love and support, right?
Absolutely.
So, all right, because that's the goal. I mean, I might be doing it wrong. I might get hate mail for this, but I apologize in advance. Okay, so to answer Danny's question, you identify as a straight man, right? But I would imagine, well, you tell me, are there still people who give you issues? Are there still people in your life who are like weird about it?
No.
Wow.
No. And I was surprised by it, you know, but I've come to realize that, you know, those that mind don't matter and those that do mind don't matter.
Yeah.
So the people that I surround myself with, you know, truly just love and care about me as a person.
Right.
And it doesn't matter, like, you know, who I identify as or what I identify as long as I don't change. They don't change.
And so I really like what you said, because I'm a firm believer in this. I'm weird. So I recognize, not that I'm comparing our situations, but what I'm saying is I'm not everybody's cup of tea. But what I've come to realize is, listen, the people who rock with me, I want to rock with them. The people who don't, I don't want to kick it with y'all anyway.
No, I don't have time. And it's crazy because, like, growing up, like, I was always a people pleaser.
Yeah.
I always wanted to get that that acceptance from others. I always wanted to be accepted. I always tried to fit in, to get people to like me. And I always needed that validation from others to feel good about myself. But through, my journey of life and what I've gone through, I've come to realize that, like, I'm not for everybody and everybody's not for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. As long as I am okay with me and I love me, like, that's all that really matters.
Right. Everybody else can go kick rocks. That's what I always say. Go kick rocks. If you don't like me and what I got going on, just go kick rocks. I don't care.
I don't understand people's obsession with stuff, man.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you this. You being trans is not your whole life. There's more to you than that, right? And from the outside looking in, watching your life, I recognize how much you've been through, and how strong you must be to still be standing here and smiling and stuff like this. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Is that okay? Yeah. So you battled addiction, or still, it's I don't ever want to say anyone's battle with addiction is over, because it doesn't work that way, but you have fought that fight for a while.
Right.
Yeah. And you are in recovery. How long have you been in recovery? I feel like you just celebrated an anniversary, right? Yeah,
I just celebrated 8 years on the 19th.
Wow, that's crazy.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. That's huge. And addiction has played a major role in your family's life in general.
Absolutely.
And so would you talk about that? What that journey has been like? Where did it start?
Yeah. And it really plays into, the identification piece of being transgender, because my addiction began, I want to say, when I was about 13. I was just experimenting with, like, weed and alcohol, like normal kids do. And unfortunately, like, I'm one of those people that don't know when to stop. I don't have that off button that's put in my brain. So, it led to me being like, oh, this isn't that bad, that I can try something else. And eventually it led to, like, harder drugs like cocaine and heroin and mushrooms and all this other extra stuff. And then it wasn't until I was, I want to say 17 or 18 is when I really took a downward horrible path with heroin. Opiates really, took over my life and became my everything and anything. And the reason I started using drugs was because of not being able to be who I was, not having proper coping skills, not having a good outlet, feeling like I didn't have anybody to talk to. And before I picked up drugs, like, I used to be a cutter,
Wow.
Yeah, I used to, self-mutilate, to relieve some of that inner frustration that I talked about earlier.
Right.
To deal with life.
And you on some level have seen drug and alcohol stuff impacting people in your life, probably your whole life. One of my biggest heroes is your dad, who's been in recovery for like 30 something years now, right? Like a stupid amount of time, like just a lot. You know what I mean? Like,
he got clean 2 years before I was born. He got clean in 88.
he's OG. Wow. Like, he's straight OG.
He's triple OG.
Right. I certainly never imagined I'd have a baby on my hands at 44. My first child was born when I was 17. And with my oldest daughter being grown now, and my son being 15, I thought I'd be an empty nester by 50. I figured I'd be traveling, living the life. But life doesn't always go as planned. I got divorced and remarried to a woman 10 years younger than me, and she wanted kids. So here we are. Age 44, brand new baby. I thought it might be cool to document some of my time with the baby and what I learned from it. I know I'm supposed to be teaching her about the world, but it sure does feel like I'm the one learning. The life expectancy of an African American male is somewhere around 70 years, which means I'm definitely on the back nine. This vlog will be a record of my journey to relearn fatherhood on the back nine. This is House Call with Dr. Rueben Brock. I am Dr. Rueben Brock. I'm here with Danny Miller, and we are here. We have a guest, James Ivery. We're talking about a little bit of everything, but yeah. So you've seen the impact of drugs and alcohol on life with lots of people in your family, in fact, and. It was like, when I look at that, I'm like, well, that was kind of inevitable, right? But you're saying the whole identity issue, the gender identity thing definitely played a role, you wanting to kind of self-medicate and numb some of that pain. Mm-hmm. And at what point did you figure out, all right, this is a problem?
Well, whenever what we call hit rock bottom. Yeah. When I was no longer, able to sustain employment, when I was homeless and didn't have a place to lay my head, I probably weighed $120 soaking wet with boots on. Yeah. I had track marks from my neck to my toes. I was doing anything and everything I could to get the next one. I literally became like a slave to the drug. Yeah. And thank God that, we talked about my dad, because I knew that I could reach out to him when I had exhausted all measures and needed help. So that was like the plus side, of having a father in recovery. Yeah. But then you also got the downfall of having my mom in active addiction, and then my sisters, right, addiction. So it's kind of hard to get clean, when your inner circle is not. Right. Because you talk about in the recovery community, they talk about changing your people, places, and things. But how does that work when it's your sister, who I would imagine was one of your best friends? Unfortunately, I'm saying that in the past tense because my cousin, your sister, is no longer with us. But you talk mom, sisters. That's a very difficult. I would imagine that's a very difficult situation to navigate. Yeah, absolutely. It's like an endless cycle. I would try to get clean, and then I would, go to hang out with my sister, and she wasn't, and then it was just back onto the races. Yeah, because we were so close in age. We were only like 18 months apart or something crazy. Right. And so when you grow up with someone your whole life, like that is, like you said, your best friend. And so we did everything and anything together, you know what I mean? And it just, I needed to be able to remove myself completely. Right. And it wasn't until, my last run that I really, really had burned all my bridges and had nothing left and nowhere else to turn. It was to the point where I even, strained my relationships with my family, like with my mom and my sister, who were still using. They didn't even want to talk to me. That's deep. They were like, "Nah, man, you can't come over here."
That's how you know you're bad. When the addicts are like, you're out of control, man. You need to chill.
That's how you know. When the other junkies don't want to hang out with you no more, that's how you know you got a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's fun. I mean, it's not funny, but it is funny. Yeah. That's a good point. That would be a wake up call. Like, oh, huh?
Right.
They don't want me coming over. Like, really, them?
Right. Like when you really ain't welcome in the trap house no more. That's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a first. I never heard that. That's a good point, though.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Oh wow, that's deep. So then you got clean, but unfortunately, some of those folks that you mentioned didn't, weren't able to maintain that, and in the last couple years, that side of your family has experienced unprecedented amounts of hurt, some of it surrounding drugs and alcohol, right? So
yeah,
so you lost what? Mom, sister, and an aunt too, right?
Yeah, my aunt.
You lost your aunt, but then you also lost. There were other aunts and uncles that passed in recent time, right?
Yeah, my uncle Mike.
Yeah, and it's just when I watch from a distance that, like, whatever that was, however many months that was, that span, it was just like hit after hit.
It was like every 3 months. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I was just like, yo, like, this is crazy. Just watching all that, because that's the other side of my family. So like, I knew James's mom from when I was a little kid, when your mom and dad were together, but I hadn't seen her in years. And obviously I knew your aunt because she was my friend's mom. It's a small world, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And your Uncle Mike, same thing. I just knew them from around the way. But when I saw that whole time span go down, I always thought of you and your dad, because my thought is always like, is there something that could make you know what I'm saying? Like, is there something that could knock you off your square? Is it? Because if there is, geez, that was the one. That's not even a 1-2 punch. That was like a 5-6 piece combination, right? How do you maintain, your focus through all that?
So, I mean, I had been blessed to be a part of a 12-step program. There's a few of them out there. And, I had been, afforded the ability to develop a strong support system. Mm-hmm. I have a sponsor who I talk to, therapy. Yeah. Gotta have therapy.
Power to the people. Therapy.
Yeah, is what it's all about. Have therapy, man. I'm
right.
telling you.
I swear, when people front on going to therapy, I'm like, oh, so you just don't like yourself, huh? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, like, listen. If I have a sprained ankle, I go to the doctor. I don't know what y'all are talking about. Like, when my mind gets twisted, I go see somebody about that, because I me. I want to feel better. Like, people are like, nah, I'm cool. I'm gonna just tough this one out. All right, cool. Good luck with that.
Oh. And that's like, and it sucks too, because within the Black community, like, we neglect our minds so much because we're so used to just having to like tough it out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's not a thing. Like,
and the worst, I feel like even worse than, I'm gonna get in trouble for what I'm about to say, but I feel like even worse than the whole tough it out, which is definitely a thing that people do, I feel like in the Black community, there's also this like strong contingent of, let's just pray on it. I'm like, listen, I feel you. Go, pray all you want, but see, I can't say what I want to say. Listen, my point is,
Grandma gonna come get you.
Exactly. I'm thinking like, hold on, Grandma gonna watch this. Let me be careful. Hold on. But I'm saying, like, listen, pray all you want, but you also need to take advantage of what's available to you. If you had cancer, you wouldn't just sit and pray. You know what I mean? You would go get treatment for it, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
And I really don't understand people being like, I'm gonna take you down to the church and we're gonna pray over you. We're gonna lay hands on you. I'm like, all right, well, can I get some Prozac too? I mean, I'm saying, like, right.
And
I mean, cool.
And it's the same like for recovery. You know what I mean? It's like, you wouldn't be like a diabetic that needs insulin and just like neglect to take your insulin, would you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That wouldn't make any sense.
No. And it's like, it's a God-given thing. So like the program that I practice, it's a God-given program, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we can pray, but like God will give us things to use.
Right.
He's not
put
just
things in place for you.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
It's not just going to be like poof magic. Hey, there you go. Like,
right.
No, like he moves through people, you know, to put things in place for us to take advantage of. And that's how our prayers are answered.
This is a conversation I had with a client a while back, because there was a client that was essentially saying something along the lines of like, you know, I'm not going to keep doing this because I am not a religious based therapist. That's not the way I get down. It's just not what I do. And I remember this client being turned off about the lack of spirituality in the treatment that I was offering, which is fine because everybody needs what they need. But she was expressing this sort of like, I gotta pray on this. I gotta do this in this way. And I was like, that makes perfect sense to me. But what if God sent you to me? Mm-hmm. And that I could see that took her aback, because she was like, wow, I never thought of it like that. Because here's the thing, like, because I've heard this. It's like, I guess, a joke, but this guy's out in the middle of the ocean drowning, and he prays like, God, save me, please. And an ocean liner floats by, and they're like, here, we're going to send you down a lifeboat. And dude's like, nah, I prayed to God. And then a helicopter goes by, and they're like, here, we're going to send down a ladder. And dude's like, nah, I prayed. And something else, like a life raft goes by, and dude's like, nah, I'm good. And then he dies and goes to heaven, and he's like, God, why didn't you save me? And dude's, and God's like, I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. And like, what?
Right.
So I'm like, what makes you, if your belief is that God is all knowing, then doesn't it stand to reason that God gave us these gifts, gave us these abilities, gave us these, right? I mean, that's reasonable to me. Yeah, but there are people who are like, nah, you know, but I'm glad to hear you saying that makes sense to you, because you know, I believe that one of the best things, you know, because I've learned a lot from the recovery community. I worked in drug and alcohol for years, and a wise person told me to go to an AA meeting, and sit and listen, and I did, and ever since then, I've like talked to a lot of people who are in recovery. I've helped some people in recovery. But I've just learned, I feel like the recovery community just gets it right. It's just like, it's the right way to live. You know what I mean? Always being humble, always recognizing that it ain't about me, always recognizing that something bigger than me is happening, right? You know, and so what I really like is the idea that I'm not strong enough on my own to do all this. I can't. Right. And so it wouldn't make sense for me to keep trying to do it on my own. But if I tap into something stronger than me, something more powerful than me, well, then now I got this. Right. You know what I mean? And not in the sense that like this is going to be easy, but in the sense that I'm not alone. Yeah. Right. And what I love about the recovery community is that it's just so welcoming and so loving. And I feel like, why isn't everybody like this? Why, you know, like,
listen, I say it all the time. Like, everybody needs a 12-step program.
Yes. I'm serious. That is the truth. Cause I'll be like, oh, so the rest of y'all just suck at life, huh?
Right.
Oh, okay. That's like, cool.
It's the reason why I was able to like find myself and do some deep soul searching on like, you know, what's really like, what's at the core, like what is, you know, the nature, like I need to get to the nature, you know what I mean? Of like what it really is that drives me to like self-destruct all the time.
Yeah.
Like, what is that about me that like, I feel like I'm not good enough? What is it about me that makes me feel like, you know, I'm less than or not worthy? And, you know, and recovery has helped me to identify some of those character defects that I have, you know, like I've come to realize that like, you know, I'm an asshole.
Everybody is. That's cool.
I'm a self-centered asshole.
Yeah.
and everything's not always about me, even though I think it is. You know what I mean?
And I really, what I love about the 12 steps is that it is a really good way of checking yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if worked right, it really does teach you to be like, hold on, what's going on here? What am I doing? What's my part in this? I feel like that's something that the average person doesn't often do. No. But I feel like the 12 steps teach you or require you to check yourself and be like, hold on, what am I doing here? You know, like, let me take an inventory of what I'm doing. And for whatever reason, I feel like that's just not a thing. Like, that's not a thing that the average person does. They just go be a jerk all the time and not even think about, like, what did I do? Yeah. So all right. But I feel like we've covered some grounds. But here's my question. This is what I really wanted to know. What would you want someone to know? Let's say someone watching this, because like 7 people watch our show, so it's a lot of people, you know what I mean? So you know, if one of them 7 people have a transgender person in their family or in their friend group, and they want to be supportive, they want to be loving, they want to do it right, what do you feel like people don't know that you wish people would understand?
It's not about sexuality. It's not about you. It's about the person and how they feel. You know what I mean? You have to be open and allow people to be who they feel they are. You know what I mean? We have to stop putting people in these imaginary boxes that society has built over the years. Like, it's just not real. You know what I mean?
And let me add to that real quick. For anyone watching this and wondering if whether James said just now is true or not, I promise you he's right. The whole like binary gender paradigm, that's not a thing. That's not a real thing. That is not how it actually works. We've adopted the belief that it does, but it doesn't work that way. And so you being like, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there, like there's a random dude out in Idaho somewhere going, no, you're either a boy or you're a girl. I'm like, that's actually not true though. Right. You know, I mean, that's literally not true.
Yeah. People are just ignorant. I need James, can you hear me? We got our first call.
We have a call?
Yeah, it's me. I just called in.
Danny called into his own show.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
This fool called into the show that he's
I'm our first call. How exciting is that? That's cool.
Ridiculous.
All right, so you can hear me. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
All right. This is a follow-up question. Do you have any regrets about the surgery? Do you ever go back and think, damn, I can't take that back?
No. So I haven't had bottom surgery yet. I've had top surgery and I've had a full hysterectomy. So if you're not familiar with top surgery, it's a double mastectomy where they remove the breast tissue and sculpt in a chest. So the bottom surgery I haven't had yet, just because I wanted time to really think about that. And it's also super expensive.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
I hate that. That makes me so mad. But anyway, go ahead.
But as far as the top surgery and the full hysterectomy, like I have no regrets whatsoever. You know, when I had my top surgery and the first time I got to go on a beach without a shirt on, best time of my life.
Yeah.
Like I almost cried because it was like, I'm me, you know.
Right. You get to fully be you in this moment. Yeah.
It's like and people don't understand that, like, you feel like a chain and ball has been removed from you.
Wow.
You know,
that's
and it
crazy.
Does so much for your mental health and everything, you know.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Wow. But I do believe that Danny's question is a good question in the sense that a lot of people in popular culture probably think a person who's saying they're transgender is going through a phase, and that they will regret it one day if they do something permanent, right? And you're saying not even close to true for you.
No.
Yeah.
Good.
No.
Good.
And then
That's
to
good.
identify, also another thing I would want people to know is just because someone identifies as a transgender doesn't mean that they have to get any type of surgery done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people are comfortable, having the parts that they have, but just aren't comfortable with identifying. You know what I mean? So
Right.
having that surgery, sometimes people just don't want to do it, whether it's a fear-based decision or, they're just okay with how their body looks, but they're just not okay with how people use pronouns and all that,
And you're saying that doesn't negate you being who you say you are. And I'm glad you said that, because I feel like that's another thing. Danny's like he's representing the average person right now. That which is good, because I realize I don't think like that at all. But yeah, the average person, I've heard people say that's not real. They didn't get surgery. That they're just fronting. And you would say, no, it doesn't work that way. You don't get to decide that I am something simply because of what body parts I have. So gender identity is how you identify yourself. So theoretically, that doesn't actually have to match your biology. It really literally doesn't. Your identity is your identity. I am male because I say I'm male. And what difference is it of yours what I say I am? Right? And I'll go a step further, because there's somebody out there, average dude in Idaho. I feel like he got a beer belly.
He got one.
But that dude is like, no, because there's a guy out there who will identify as female so he can go into girls' bathrooms and stuff. And I'm like, listen, I don't think you understand how this works. Ain't nobody choosing to be transgender just so they can go in the bathroom. Pornhub is free.
Yeah.
You could look at all the girls you want to look at. You don't have to go to the length of like going in the bathrooms and doing all. That's so.
But hold
ain't
on.
nobody doing all that.
Hold on. Let's devil's advocate. James, this is for you. There is somebody out there that would say, yes, I was born a guy, but I'm going to act like I'm a girl, or that I'm identifying as trans so that I can go into this girl's bathroom. People are sick. That would happen. James, what is your thought on transgender bathrooms?
And it is, people are sick, and people, do want to, take advantage of that opportunity. But that again goes towards, that has nothing to do with transgender people. It just has to deal with sick people.
Yeah. That's thank you. Yes.
So should there only be men and women bathrooms? Should there be transgendered bathrooms?
So I believe that there should at least be one unisex bathroom in every facility. And the reason I say that, and when I say unisex, I mean, like, how they have like the family bathrooms, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something like that, you know what I mean? Like where it's just one bathroom, you can go in and there's nobody else in there. Early on in my transition, I didn't look like this. I didn't have a beard, I looked like a lesbian, like a butch lesbian. And it was so hard. I would literally be out and I would have to hold like a bowel movement, because of the fear of going to the bathroom, because you get dirty looks if you go into the female's bathroom, and then you get crazy looks if you go into the male's bathroom. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a double.
So you can't win. Yeah.
You can't, we would be out and I would have to wait until we get home just to use the bathroom, and like my wife, like always like felt so bad for me, you know what I mean? Like if we were out, I would have to wait to go to the hotel to use the bathroom, you know what I mean? Or somewhere where they have like a single bathroom that I can use.
Right.
And then, I mean, like it became easier once I was able to what we call passing, as male. And then I was afraid that like people would notice if I sit down or not or whatever. But come to find out, listen, dudes do not give a fuck what happens in the bathroom. They really don't. Like no one makes eye contact. Like there's none of that. It's so different.
Yeah.
It's also very disgusting. I don't understand.
No, listen, the men's bathroom is probably the most anonymous place ever. It's an unwritten rule. Don't look at anybody.
No.
What are you looking for?
No, don't look. You don't even know. You don't say
Speaking of men's bathrooms, my favorite men's room story of all time in my whole life. You were there for this one. We went. You remember? We went to a Steelers game. Yeah. Look, so we're in the men's room, and like at the. What was it? Was it Three Rivers or was that at
I think it was the New York when we went to New York. Was it really?
All right, so we're in this men's room and a lot of these stadiums, they have like troughs. It's like, you know what I mean? Like it's the urinals are not urinal. It's like a trough, literally. So we're standing, it's me, Danny, and this little kid, this like little boy.
He was like 10 maybe?
He might have been 10, maybe. Yeah. But the whole time, hold on, I gotta see if I can do it. He's looking, he's doing his thing, but he's looking like this the whole time.
Looking like, straight down the urinal.
He's leaned over, looking at our stuff. And I looked over and realized what was happening. I was like, hey man, I'm not mad. He's just trying to see where he stacks up in life. That's all. You know what I mean? He's just trying to figure out where he stands.
He was. I remember that very well.
But I agree with you that no reasonable, rational person cares what you're doing in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. I'm in there to do my stuff. I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna get out.
Right.
I literally don't care. You could go in there and do your taxes if you feel like it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. But the best thing I've ever seen in San Francisco at the pier, and I get, now that I think about it, San Francisco, it makes sense because it's like, it's a very, very progressive place. But on the pier, there were not men's rooms and ladies' rooms. There were just bathrooms. And I remember walking up to the door and not seeing, it was just like bathrooms. And I was like, well, which one do you go in? And like a waitress was looking at me like, go ahead in, honey. And I'm like, yeah, but which one? And she was like, it's just a bathroom. So then I walked in and realized there were all stalls. And then I realized, wait, that's brilliant. Why didn't everybody just think of that? Like, if you go into the stall, nobody can see what you're doing in the stall. And who would care what you're doing in the next stall?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Okay, so I want to let James go because I feel like this was a good conversation. But James, I'm gonna give you the last word. I started to ask you, and you were answering. What would you want people to know? Is there anything else that we haven't asked that you feel like I wish people would stop? Is there anything?
I wish people would stop stigmatizing everything.
Yeah.
Based off our conversation, stigmatizing addiction and stigmatizing, the transgender process. Because we're talking about it, people's lives.
Right.
And no one understands until it's close to home. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's not a problem until it's like your kid or your son or your mom or your dad, or, you know what I mean? But if we're all able to educate ourselves, collectively as a society, like, it don't have to come to that. You know what I mean? Like, you can be ready to have that conversation, or, you can be open for maybe like your kid to like want to come and talk to you, knowing where you stand and, like how you are.
So stop stigmatizing. Mm-hmm. Stop making it into something that it's not. Let people live.
Yeah. Let people live their best life, man. Like, it has nothing to do with you.
Yes.
It's not affecting you.
Mind your business.
Right.
It's so annoying, man. Dude, that's people in their God, like using their God. God wouldn't want it this way. You were born a guy. Always trying to use God as the...
People do love using God.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, I'm not a religious scholar, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't work that way.
Nah, man, it's ridiculous.
It doesn't, and I think that they forget that, like, listen, the Bible's man-made, dude.
Right.
And it's been translated over and over so many times from the original text that, like, it's so misconstrued.
Right.
And a lot of it was, like, used to, like, you know, it was used for slavery. Like,
right.
It's used for control.
And here's the thing. This is the thing that I always say when people start bringing religion and God into the equation and saying that somebody's doing something wrong and blah blah blah. I'm always like, all right, let me ask you this: if Jesus were here right now, like the Jesus that you be telling me about, what do you think he would do?
So if James is walking into a woman's bathroom, and you're trying to stop James from going to the woman's bathroom, but Jesus shows up,
what do you think?
Jesus got your back, or does Jesus got James's back?
Right. And I'm like, if you don't know the correct answer to this question, you need to keep reading.
You gotta go.
Right. And then on top of that, like, do you really want someone that looks like me walking into the women's bathroom?
Full beard. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we want to do? Are you sure?
That's what you want to do, because I mean, we can do this.
That's funny.
I don't think it's a good idea, but we could do that.
I can make you really uncomfortable. And listen, I kind of miss the women's bathroom because it's pleasant in there. So
I know. Listen, have you ever been in a woman's room? Like a woman's bathroom, they got couches in there and whatnot.
Nice.
I'm like,
flowers
what?
and stuff. Yeah,
it smells good. How do you get a bathroom that smell good?
Colors are different.
It is.
Yeah.
The first time I forget why. I like accidentally walked into a women's room one day, but I walked in there like, this is some bull.
I know.
What?
It's completely different.
What? When did y'all get this?
It just
y'all got cable in the bathroom. Ain't this so? But anyway, listen, James, thank you so much for this conversation. It has been enlightening for me because you're a part of my life. You have been a part of my life forever. And so I feel like I know you better now. This is weird, but I know you better now after this hour than after however many, 30 years of life. But I just appreciate you being willing to be open and let us fumble through stuff and ask dumb questions. Because my hope is that people will watch this and they'll be like, I'm glad they asked that, because I wanted to ask that question. And to anyone watching this, please know that the whatever dumb questions we asked, they were asked in love. And I mean that with all my heart, because my goal would be for everybody to feel loved. And the thing that hurts my stomach is that there are people out there, particularly young people, who are in the position that James was in at 5, at age 10, knowing like, I'm not in the right body. This doesn't make any sense. But then also knowing their dad's not going to accept them, or their mom's not going to accept them, or their friends are going to whatever. And I'm like, listen, if we could just make it so that everybody gets love, if we could just make it so that everybody stops dropping the ball, so many problems get fixed by just being loving, right? Just be loving and mind your business. How hard is that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if this conversation helps contribute to that in any way, then I think we did a good thing. And so, James, I appreciate you. Love you. I want to destigmatizing telling males that you love them. This is my cousin, but he's also just a good dude. Like, if you're watching James's life, he's a good dude. I love you. I'm honored that you were willing to be on our show. We got plenty of other crazy nonsense to talk about, but I won't let you. I won't make you suffer through our nonsensical conversations. So thank you, and please, if you're watching this and you want to send love to James, do so in the comments, because I feel like I cannot sufficiently articulate how appreciative I am that you were willing to be the guinea pig. Because I feel like when people say, hey, could you come and be black for us real quick?
I know.
I'm like, I don't know that I'm always the best representative, because I'm like black light. You know what I mean? I'm the intro version.
I don't know if I'm the kind of black you need right now.
Right, exactly. Like, what exactly type of black are you looking for?
We got that
code switch. So, that's funny.
Yeah, it is.
All right, thank you, James Ivery. Thank you so much for being here. We're gonna have more conversation, but I want to let James go. Thank you so much for being here. Anything you ever need from me, just let me know, please.
Okay.
All right,
guys.
That's what's up. Love you too.
All right, James.